Hi everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm Lynn with Plasma Energy Solution, and this is, let me see, March, nope, try again. This is April 11th, and for those of you in the spring area of the country or the planet, you might wonder why I'm in a sweater and a scarf. Well, we have snow today, and I got to floss my teeth with ice crystals on my walk to the post office. So what can I say? It's what you get when you live in this latitude. So today I have a few questions that I thought I would go over, and then a little more information. So let me go ahead and get to that. First of all, I'll tell you that our website is plasmaenergysolution.com. And be sure and go there to the home page, because it will tell you about this month's special. It's Dr. Paul's birthday month, and so be sure and take a look at that. All right, and so here we are. Good morning, Lynn. I hope this letter finds you and your family and friends well. Thank you for all the information you continue to pass on to your Plasma Energy family. I enjoy receiving your emails. What will life be like for our children and our grandchildren? That is my concern. Their generation is finding it difficult to become financially independent. I'm looking ways to use the Plasma Energy Station during difficult times. Someday soon it's possible that we could lose internet for a while. So now is the time to gain knowledge and ask all the questions to clear up any confusion I have. I followed Dr. Paul's formula for the eye drops. I made it in a 12 to 16 ounce glass jar, thinking this would last a very long time. Being busy, I don't use it daily. Okay, let me stop right there. First of all, Dr. Paul used a small glass, actually a travel vial. We have it set up in one of those little BPA-free plastic travel vials. And 2/3 is the formula water. The top third is whatever oil, organic, GMO-free oil you choose to use. He chose the Bellolio light, I think it was light olive oil, and you have to really be careful of those because some of them have a pepper note. You don't need a large jar. Plasma Energy does not care about the size. So a jar this size, and a jar this size, and a jar this size don't last different amounts of time. Please remember that we've called it the never-ending plasma energy. So our thinking is coming from the kitchen. How long do things last in the refrigerator or on the counter before maybe they go bad? This is different. This is plasma energy, okay? So, now, I will say one more thing. When you get busy and you don't use it daily, the vial you have it in, the jar you have it in, doesn't need to have its eye repaired. You are the one that is trying to improve your eyes. You have to make time for things like this. Where do we have the eye formula? It's right in the kitchen on the counter by the sink. Buy the Plasma Energy drinking water, because we're there often. And we look at it, we see it, and go, oh yeah, time to use it. So don't let being busy get in your way. Being distracted and not putting things in a convenient place will be what slow us down, okay? So my concern, this is back to the question, will bad elements such as mold and bacteria form in the eye solution as it sits in the jar for many months? Now, again, if you're using it all the time, you're taking what Dr. Paul always did was shake it up and then set it down and let it settle. Let the water go to the bottom, let the oil go to the top. Over time, the water at the bottom may become more cloudy looking just because you've been adding and shaking oil to it for a long time. But you're going, what I would do is if the water did go down somewhat, I would add water till it was at the 2/3 mark. If the oil went down, I'd add oil till it was at the 1/3 mark. And then just let it sit there a few hours before you're going to use it again. And he always shook it first and let it settle and separate, and then he used it. And why did he do that? Because it activated, he felt that it activated the plasma energy. Okay, so if the eye formula was made with energy station water, maybe I wouldn't have to be concerned about bacteria, etc. And didn't he say they use things in the energy station water to clean up polluted waters in other countries? Could you elaborate on that? Is it the CO2 that cleans up the pathogens, etc.? Yes, and guess what? CO2 is part of the eye formula. Okay? So in his eye formula, he had a little bit of CuO2, which is the copper, which is there to stop bacteria growth, okay, or to address bacteria growth. Another question, if I have a glass vial of any energy formula taped to the outside of a half-gallon container, may I take 2 16-ounce spray bottles, fill them with filtered water, and set them next to, touching the glass vial, with my main energy station or my half-gallon container, and let those bottles charge overnight? Why wouldn't you just take the bottles and put a little bit of your station water in the bottle, add your filtered water, and let it sit overnight? Then you've got it. The other thing I do when I want the water to be changed is I will put a vial from my main source in a spray bottle that I might have at my desk. So again, rather than putting this next to something, why not put something in it? I have a larger jar that I fill all the time that I keep to fill my water pick. And when that jar goes down, I have a couple of vials in it, but I just take it in and fill it up with the filtered water again. So that's the easiest way to do that, and not to have to question yourself. You know, well, it doesn't work this way, does it work that way? It's always going to work if you add a vial into it, or some of the actual station water or whatever source water you're looking for directly into the water bottle that you want to change overnight. Okay, now the next question, do I have 2 spray bottles of the same energy formula from the mother source? Okay, I think I covered that with the way I was explaining it. Is it true plasma energy will remain in these spray bottles forever? Well, think about that. If we put plasma energy waters in our laundry and add it so that it's in our sheets, our towels, our clothing, why is it not going to change the container that it's in? Okay? And if I spray this around my doors and windows and on the threshold, it evidently stays there because several summers in a row now, I have not had flying insects in my house. So I don't have to get up, excuse me, I don't have to get up every day and spray around the door. And by the way, this is opaque, but if you can hear it clacking, there's a couple vials in it. And I just add my filtered water to it, or my station water, depending on whatever I want. putting the plasma energy in the spray bottles, similar to soaking cloth with plasma energy water, and the cloth is now plasmatized forever. Well, I think I just answered that, okay? If we were to wash or soak our daily clothes in the Energy Station water, what benefits would we have? Don't we need a 3-to-1 ratio on the clothing to be effective? Mostly what we're doing about talking to about the 3-to-1 ratio is that ratio between two places, the side, let's take the side of your knee that might be an arthritic knee. You want a greater side giving to a lesser side so it can balance everything in between the two patches or the sets of band-aids you put on either side. That's the purpose for the gradient, the greater giving to the lesser and giving to everything in between. Now, obviously, that isn't going to work in every situation where we're putting vials around the plasma energy station or vials in the water, but that's a specific use of that idea. Okay. How much Energy Station water do we add and at what laundry cycle? Well, here's what I do. I use a liquid laundry soap, so there's plasma energy water in my laundry soap. There's also, I had at the rinse cycle and add, usually a cup or two of the station water when I'm doing some new clothing or sheets or towels that haven't been had this done to them before. And then I just let them sit there. I turn the machine off, let everything sit there, and the time varies. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I have a load of clothes in there, I forgot about it. And so I'll go turn it back on and finish out the spin cycle and then go ahead and dry the clothes. How do I know that works? Okay, I don't have them with me, but I've shown in some of the videos some of these little sad looking gloves that look like they've been worn for a very long time, and they have. And occasionally they get thrown in with a batch of clothes just to launder them. They're still effective. I've had some of these pairs of gloves for 3 or 4 years now. And if my hands get fatigued or whatever, get the gloves out and put them on, okay? In addition to my Energy Station, I have a dozen or so individual plasma energy vials, such as Healthy Gut, that's taped to the outside, and each of these are taped to the outside of their individual glass containers. We've been enjoying their energy water for months. One of the glass vials broke, and a family member, without informing me, cleaned up the little energy water and threw out the broken vial. And she says in parentheses, I know they should have kept it. And that's true, because you had the energy fields in the broken vial. Is the glass container with the energy water I originally taped the glass vial to now plasmatized? Well, sure, because that was next to it, passing the energy fields into it. The water inside of that jar was eventually all charged with those energy fields, as is the container that it's in. And the only time we say, don't try to charge energy fields, is if I were to take a vial and try to put it on the outside of this, where it's opaque, it's not going to work, okay? You've got to have a clear glass or clear plastic container. Okay, in addition, let's see here. Oh, okay, I did answer that. Did the individual glass vials I got from you come from your individual mother sources, and now could I put some of my individual mother source water into a glass vial to give to others instead of spraying it on napkin pads? You can do it either way. You've seen me time after time show the Band-Aids. I've shown you bandanas and scarves and gloves. So Dr. Paul often said, and I would ask him, and if you look at these videos that we did, please, we did them for you. He said many, many times, the original Gans jar of energy he had, I would say, well, which one of these is going to last longer? He said, it's all the same. I said, is one of these stronger? He'd have the original jar, and then we'd have, say, this, and then we'd have maybe a bandana. I'd say, where is the energy stronger? He said, the energy is the same. You don't, when we take it from the jar and put it on Band-Aids, it doesn't make the Band-Aids a lesser energy than what was in the jar. So part of that thinking comes from the way we think with three-dimensional cooking and everything like that. And you know, a teaspoon is a lot less than a cup, and that's less than a gallon. Set that thinking aside with your plasma energy, okay? Because if you get into a situation, and if we all get into a situation that we've got to share this with friends and neighbors, in, say, emergency situations or something like that, don't give something from your source thinking that you're giving them less than. And always remember, your intention is also a very important part of all this, okay? So don't ever go, well, you know, here it is, but it's just a little bit, so it's less than. Well, that's just the intention you just put on it. Here this is, and it's the most robust amount as the original source. Now, can you see the difference in those intentions? Okay, other than the paper towels, napkins, cloths, what other material works good or does not work good for spraying and soaking the plasma water? You know, people have asked me about having a surrounding energy in their property, and they said, well, I have trees. Well, good, go spray the tree. Let that tree be your plasma energy place in that part of your yard or your property, and then go over here and maybe there's another tree, and when you go over here maybe there's a fence post. If you want to bury it in the dirt, you can do that. So I had a friend in Albuquerque who said, well, I put some of the energy fields around where I live, and the landscapers came and removed it all. What am I going to do? And I said, well, go spray the rocks. They're not going to take the rocks away. So just think about it and come up with, be creative with this. You don't have to say there's only one set of rules with this and this is the only way it can be, okay? So be creative. Okay, if we had no food, no water, no electricity, no communications, all we have is empty energy stations, what can I do with that? I think Dr. Paul mentioned putting your head in and breathing inside the empty container. And actually, I think maybe he did one time. And just remember, if that container's been sitting there for a long time with the water in it, just because the water may not be there doesn't mean that the energy fields aren't there. So if you thought they were going to escape, why, pick up one part of the lid or something and put a straw in there and breathe through the straw and keep most of the lid on. You know, you guys, be creative. This is your station. This is your plasma energy. Embrace it. Make it a part of your everyday life, okay? Does breathing provide the similar benefits of balancing the body just as though you drank the water? Well, he often said make a breathing tube because that was going to bring it into direct contact with your delivery system of the breathing that's eventually going to take the energy throughout your body and up to your brain, okay? Can we put energy pads on us and wear plasma energy soaked clothes to help during crisis times and maybe not dehydrate and starve to death? Now, we know that drinking the plasma energy station water helped us on our 10-day quest that we were going to see if we could go without meals. And we did go without all but 3 what I call dish meals. And we were not hungry, we were not cranky, we didn't have a loss of energy. The whole thing that was the hardest part was what was up here, our social conditioning to smelling food, chewing and tasting food. But otherwise, we were able to function with everything we did daily, going on walks and whatever tasks we were doing, just fine. I will say, though, that there is an element to, our bodies are 60 to 80% of water. So there's always going to be an element there of, are we losing water from our body and are we replenishing water into our body? So you've got to think about that in a long-term plan. And if you followed any of the long-term, say, prepper sites on the YouTube, they're all suggesting a water source. You have a water source, you have a way of filtering that water source. If your filtration system goes down in your town, that's, so there's a lot out there on that. And if you're concerned about that, I'd suggest you get out there and start reading and thinking about that and what would you do in that situation. My situation may be a little different from yours because there's a mountain creek that comes out of the mountain just 2 blocks from where I live. That's a way different situation than some of you that might be in cities and there's no creek nearby, okay? So, and don't forget there is rainwater, and you just have to see what the legislation is in your area about rainwater collection. Okay. My youngest daughter just moved into an apartment with their city water. My concern is she's living off bottled water, not ideal, but maybe better than tap water. The day could come when she could not buy bottled water and all she has is city water. With the pandemic, not being able to buy water filtration, and some of the rest of us may not be able to buy extra water filters for our water filtration system. Can we somehow use plasma energy technology to make her city tap water safer? City tap water is probably going to be a last choice because of the many chemicals that are added to it. What I suggest is get online and look at the water filters that are available. There's a lot of systems like the Berkey system, Alexapure, Zero water filters. There's quite a few systems out there. But with this type of question, I would be asking myself if I need to get some extra water filters to have on hand. Okay? So just look ahead and see where you think your life and your circumstances are going. And there's a Dutch Sense has an earthquake reporting and volcano reporting website, and he always says, don't be scared, be prepared. And I think that's great advice. Don't be scared, be prepared. I understand from your YouTube that when making pain pads, we need the 3-to-1 ratio to be effective. If I want to make my energy station water and give it to others to have in their home, I believe you said make energy pads and put pads on the opposite side of the water pitcher. Are the 2 pads necessary? Well, that's the way I do it, and that's the way people receive their orders overseas. And I actually do the 3-to-1 thing with the greater pad going on one side of their energy station and the single pad going on the other side. And I do that too because if you're going to give pads to people and they're going to be using them on any, say, pain situations, then you're just in the habit of doing the 3-to-1 ratio. And you don't have to stop and go, okay, is this a situation where they can match or do they need to be 3-to-1? just be consistent in what you do, and then you don't have to second guess. Okay. And let's see here. I asked, with my individual vials, I only have 1 vial per water pitcher. Instead, could I put some of my energy water in a new glass or plastic vial for people to put on their water pitcher? Yes. You could take the plasma energy station water you have with 16 vials, and you could put it in 1 little vial, like I have in this spray bottle, and you could give that to them, and that will take care of their energy station. We've said over and over and over, size does not matter. It's our perception that we're dealing with that makes us think it's going to matter. So yes, a vial is fine, and they can take it and start their energy station. I'm interested in protecting house and property from dangerous weather. I know you talk about spraying the house and the trees, and that makes seems like it takes a lot of time to spray everything and a huge amount of water. So to speed that effort up, I was thinking I need to work with 5-gallon tubs of plasma energy water and maybe a large paint brush or paint roller for this project, rather than wasting many 5 gallons of filtered water, since I'm not drinking it but spraying objects outside. Well, guess what? Some people just spray it on little ping pong balls and hang the ping pong balls in their trees. You could spray some. You don't have to spray the whole tree, okay? You can spray some on the tree, and then the tree is going to take in that plasma energy. I did find a couple of containers about this size that are 2-liter sprayers at the hardware store, which are a little bigger than going around the property with something this size, okay? And you don't have to drench everything. Like I said, you know, it might be this side of a fence post, it might be this side of the tree, it might be this rock over here. So, you want some, and once you have the some there, those fields are going to communicate with the other fields, so that if the fields are, let's say they're 30 feet, okay? If this tree here can communicate 30 feet, well, maybe this fence post is 30 feet away. But don't forget, it's also going to communicate 30 feet this way, 30 feet this way, 30 feet that way, 30 feet out that way. So that's the oasis or the dome effect that you're looking for with the weather. And if you'll go to my website, there's a blog I wrote in November of 2017 about Hurricane Maria in Dominica. And it's really an amazing report. So I would suggest that you go there and look at that and look at the pictures on there. 90% of Dominica was destroyed, and there was a property that a son had made plasma energy water for his parents of whatever formulas, you know, he put together, and in a 30-foot radius on their property, everything was absolutely untouched. So from the and all he had done was just put a container of his plasma water in the center of their garden, and those energy fields expanded out, and that's what was the protection for that property. So then the next question, can I fill up the 5-gallon tubs with my unfiltered tap water, and then can I plasmatize? How can I best plasmatize this 5-gallon bucket? Well, again, I'm going to say I don't think you need to go to the extent of the 5-gallon buckets, okay? When I did around my property, I took Carmex-sized jars, just little plastic jars, and I put that much water in the jar, and I took a tablespoon out of the kitchen drawer, and I went and dug down a couple of inches, stuck the jar in the hole, and put rocks and dirt over the top of it. I didn't take a 5-gallon bucket anywhere. because those energy fields are going to expand. Remember, on my website, I show when I measured the 16 vials and the energy fields from them. At that time, it was over 30 feet. I measured